Yeah,
Uh,
has like minor brain damage.
it's kind of true because CP
Yeah,
is a developmental disorder brought about by brain damage.
yeah, but
Normally, it
it
should be.
shouldn't have caused him like personality confusion though.
No, dude. It's supposed to only be like a motor condition. What are you talking about?
Oh,
So I'm Captain Gimpy, that's Zenburo, and we are back with another day of
hmm
Stoicism.
yeah,
Um, we're gonna do more of Seneca's On Anger. It's actually How to Keep Your Cool, translated by James Romm. You can find it on Amazon. I would put the link, but the link is too long, and then it won't tweet out properly. So go look for it.
yeah,
And then we're gonna sprinkle in some meditations of Marcus Aurelius with our glorious wit.
yep.
Um, is there anything you want to say?
Um, Not in particular.
All right. Boom. All right. Do you recall where we left off? Did we leave off
Um,
at 1.21?
yeah, that's where my Kindle page popped up.
Okay.
So yeah.
Are you reading or am I?
I don't mind reading.
I'll read this one, I guess. There's nothing great or noble in anger. I have to turn the page. Um,
Oh, is the page on there
Say what?
on the stream?
Is it? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, right. I gotta turn off the caption. Thanks. That's better. Now y'all can see what location I'm at on my Kindle.
Well, the page is not showing up though.
What are you talking about?
The text, because you want the text displayed on the screen, right?
It is on the screen.
Oh, it's not showing up on my end.
It's on the screen, dude.
Okay.
That's why I was confused. You mean the Kindle app wasn't showing up on screen?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It is. It is.
Okay.
That's weird.
Well, for some reason it's not on my screen.
It shows up over here.
Okay.
See,
Well,
now you're making me want to check Twitch, man. What? Hold on. I just want to make sure it's actually showing up right. Sorry, dudes. Because I don't actually know now. Know what I mean?
yeah.
All right. Oh wait, what? Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Okay, so. Oh wait, what? I have an idea.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Let me try to not to unshare it and shit. Dude. Okay. So when I logged in, I got a message saying that the new version of Chrome causes some random issues.
Ah.
And you know, Chrome auto updates now, and it doesn't even like.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to reshare it again and tell me if it works.
Okay.
If not, we'll just show our faces and read.
Okay. Yeah.
What about now? Oh, what the hell? Okay. What? Okay, one more time. One more time. Holy crap, this is dumb. Okay, application window. Yeah, it's not working.
Okay.
In fact, my browser is gonna crash in a second. So, if we go dark, dudes, we'll be right back, and we're not gonna bother with the screen share today. And next time, I'll have Firefox downloaded. It might crash, dude.
Okay.
All right. Whoa. I'm online? This is scary. Alright. Yeah, they need to do some work on this platform, dog. One second, dudes. The thing about going live is you never, ever, ever know what you're going to get. Videos are so much easier. They're just more of a pain. Please stand by while we are experiencing technical difficulties. Thank you very much. Yours truly, Captain Gimpy and whatever the Burro is calling himself these days. Are we online?
I'm online.
I mean, are we currently live? Because when I logged back in, it was like auto live, so I'm not sure if that's like a thing.
Yeah, I guess we are live.
I never ever have to double check this usually, but yeah, next time I'm just gonna have Firefox. Okay, we're good. We're good.
All right.
Okay, we're live. We're just gonna read without sharing the screen, so forgive us, but whatever. Okay, there's nothing great or noble in anger, not even when it seems brash or scornful of both men and gods, or if it seems that anger does bring forth greatness of mind in anyone. Then so would extravagance, for it likes to be held up by ivory, dressed in purples and covered in gold. So ivory and gold we understand, but purple used to be the color of royalty, like it was very expensive dye. So that's the metaphor. To move lands from place to place, dam up oceans, and turn rivers into waterfalls, build forests in the air. Then greed, too, would seem to come from a great mind, for it lies down on heaps of gold and silver, and tends fields that are called provinces, and holds estates under single managers that stretch out farther than what consuls get assigned. Lust would seem to come from a great mind, since it swims across straits, castrates whole crowds of boys, goes under a husband's sword with no regard for death. All these things, no matter how far they go, no matter how far they extend themselves, are really small, base, and lowly. Virtue alone is elevated and lofty. Nothing is great unless it's also at peace. There's actually a lot to this that I didn't expect. It's very Buddhistic.
Yeah, Buddhistic.
Because he talked about like greed, he talked about like lust in relation to anger. And the thing is, like, my personal experience of those things are that they kind of come from the same source.
Yeah.
They come from this idea that, like, because of what you've done, and we have this mentality deeply in our country. We live in the US. I can't speak for other people. But culturally, we have this idea that if we've done certain things, we are entitled to certain other things.
Yeah.
And I use the word entitled because I understand what it actually means, right? Like, it's like because we've done certain things, like we automatically assume we're going to get a certain set of rewards. And when we don't get that, we try to find other ways to obtain the things that we feel slighted for not getting.
Yep.
And that gives rise to anger, which then gives rise to the type of greed, which then gives rise to lust for more things.
Yeah.
And people. I mean, when he talked about the ruler going under a husband's sword without any regard for death, that's what he's talking about.
Pretty much.
And basically, because of that attitude, you'll break all forms of trust without regard for other people.
Right.
Throw some in there. I'm sure you have some good things to say, dog. I feel like I'm too academic, so you know.
I don't know what you mean by that word.
Like I just sort of, dismantle things, and like that's,
Well, not only that, but greed, lust. I like how I like how the translator put this in English, like how lust castrates whole crowds of boys and all that. I thought was pretty clever, because if I think about the word castration, you could say it castrates your mental faculties, because you're not really thinking all that rationally.
right. And the funny thing about that, for those of you that don't know, is Seneca was literally a writer. Like he
Mm-hmm.
wrote plays.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah. So those clever turns of phrases are, I think, very vivid, and they hit home a lot.
Clever bastard and your damn introverted intuition. I like it.
I don't know what he's talking about, so
Yeah, you do.
no, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so those types of writerly techniques, I feel like I would recommend this to like anyone going through like an anger management type of thing. And we're not even like really deep into this book yet.
Yeah, we're really not.
Yeah, but greed and lust, I feel, like you said earlier, are they're kind of rooted in that, in anger. I think they're all like very connected.
They're like they're sibling emotions, right?
Yeah.
They're very, very close in terms of that they share a root.
Yep, and the thing you said about how these things seem noble or great, probably because of the results, like a soldier in battle, or something like that. Like it seems like bravery or something, but there are some experiences I've read where the anger gives them that adrenaline rush, and it's like they can never stop.
Yeah.
When they come back home.
And likewise, if you grow up in an angry environment, like you grow up in a household where angry behavior is normalized and is part of your personal culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to turn that shit off.
Yeah.
It's really hard to modulate it and know when a certain type of response is warranted versus like when you should literally just let something go and not address it. I grew up in what Malcolm Gladwell would have called an honor culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember where he talked about that, where like offense had to be rectified. Like that was just part of the personal code of the people of the Appalachians in the book. What was that? The 10,000 Hour book? I forgot the name of it. I read the whole.
Yeah, I forgot the name too.
But he cited a study where they observed that people that grow up in environments like that are more likely to be confrontational when it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Than people who don't. And that sounds really obvious, but I think it's something we don't often think about.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to see that like other people didn't look at the world that way.
Right.
All right. Oh.
I'll read this next one.
All right.
I'll read the little abstract too.
I think it sets it up nicely, so that's a good idea.
So, having dealt up to now with anger in the abstract, its definition and qualities, Seneca turns, in the second half of his treatise, toward a pragmatic discussion of how to stop anger from getting a hold of us, and how to manage it once it does. He begins with advice to parents on how to raise children, so as to produce adults who are not prone to anger. So since we have explored the questions that result from anger, let's move on to its remedies. These are two, I believe: not falling into an angry state, and once there, not doing wrong. Just as in the care of the body, some therapies deal with maintaining health and others with restoring it, so we ought to use one method to fend off anger, another to suppress it. First, as to how to avoid it, we'll look at certain teachings that concern the whole of human life, dividing them up into raising of children and what comes after. Child rearing demands the greatest effort, for that effort will return a very great benefit. It's easy to mold minds that are still pliable, but ills that have taken root in us are retrenched only with difficulty. A very great benefit, I say, will come from raising children in a healthy way. But it's a difficult program, since we must make an effort neither to nurture anger in them, nor to blunt their natural impulses. Careful observation is needed, for that which must be supported, and that which must be suppressed are nurtured by similar things, and being similar, they can easily fool you even as you monitor them. Spirit flourishes when it is given license and shrinks under servitude. It shoots up if it is given praise and encouraged to value itself highly. But license and praise also give rise to arrogance and an angry temperament. You must steer a middle course, pulling back on the reins at one moment, applying the goad the next. Let children's spirits encounter nothing lowly or slavish. Let them never beg for things in the manner of a suppliant, and if they do, let them not gain anything by it. Rather, let gifts be made on the basis of their circumstances, the things they have already done and the good things they promise to do in the future. In contest with their peers, let's not allow children to be defeated, nor to grow angry. Let's see that they are close acquaintances of those with whom they contend, so that they get accustomed to wanting to win rather than to hurt. Whenever they win and do something worthy of praise, let's allow them to hold their heads high, but not to become boastful. For exultation follows rejoicing, and after exultation comes inflated ego, and too great a sense of self-worth. We will give them a certain amount of leisure, but we won't untether them for idleness and laziness, and will keep them far from the influence of the pleasures, for nothing will make adults more prone to anger than a soft and cloying upbringing. Thus, the more an only child is indulged, or the more that's permitted to an orphaned ward, the more corrupt the mind becomes. The one was never denied anything, whose tears a worried mother wiped away, for whose sake a babysitter got the blame, will have no resources against shocks to the system. Don't you see how greater wrathfulness accompanies a greater fortune? It's clear in the case of the rich, the nobility, and office holders that whenever something light and empty arises in the mind, it gathers momentum like a ship with a favorable breeze. Prosperity nurtures the angry temperament. When a crowd of yes-men whispers in arrogant ears, "Can he talk that way to you?" You're not taking the measure of your full stature. You sell yourself short. And other things that even healthy minds, built on strong foundations from the start, have scarcely resisted. So yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah, let's break that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Child upbringing. I don't know. We could talk about our own upbringings and then go from there.
Yeah, because like I'm not a dad. I mean,
Me neither.
I mean,
Even though people have assumed like, "Hey, happy Father's Day," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not a father."
I'm technically a brother, but I did a lot of fatherly things in my estimation very poorly for my siblings who were 10 years younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I could tell you things about what not to do more than I could tell you what to do. But I can't tell you that plus how I grew up. One point that I really, really liked that he made, I don't know, like, was the one where he talked about, you know, in competition, let a child make close acquaintances with those he's competing with.
Yeah.
That way he'll be more inclined to develop a desire to win rather than hurt.
Right.
And I feel like in our culture, we kind of conflate the two a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you've been in competition for a lot of your life,
Right.
and have had the ability to like develop that differing frame of mind, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the cliche we always hear is you're not competing against the other people, you're competing against yourself. And that's true, but it's not. Um, so the way that I liken it is that when you're in the military, for practical purposes, they train you to look at the people that you're fighting with
Yeah.
as less than human, right? And competition without that sort of guidance breeds the same mindset.
Yeah.
So you don't care about the people you're competing with. You just want to destroy them. Like you want to win, but you don't care if you hurt them.
Yeah.
But the more that you learn to look at other people as uh, all of you are coming together to test yourselves against one another for the purpose of growth,
Mhm.
that's a completely different mindset. So if you get to know your competitors and you realize you learn about what brought them to where you are and all that sort of thing, when you lose, you're going to feel kind of bad because you're like, oh, I could have done better, but you're not going to take it out on that other person.
Yeah.
And that lesson is super powerful.
Yep.
What's one you wanted to talk about?
I think finding that middle ground between I don't like using the word punishment, but um like punishing a child versus praising them. It seems parents either go one way or the other instead of
Yeah,
trying to balance the two, because there's a time for punishment, because kids are curious and they'll get into things. I just think parents go overboard with the punishment. It's more like they don't really talk to their children like they're little human beings who can understand things.
right.
Yeah, because if you can start having a conversation with a child about like thinking and reasoning, they will figure it out eventually. They just don't have the vocabulary that we do as adults.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean they're like they can't understand you, or they don't understand what's going on, or they're unaware of what's going on. Because trust me, they're aware and they'll express it, just
yeah.
not the way you think like an adult would.
It's kind of messed up, right? Because I don't know if this is the correct view of like child rearing, but like
Yeah.
I tend to think of parenthood as a master class crash course in operant conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know some people are gonna get mad,
Yeah.
but I think some people do tend to go overboard with the positive reinforcement
Mm-hmm.
to the point, and I've seen this in some kids, right? Where their parents don't believe in any form of punishment. I'm not talking corporal.
No.
Like I've met parents that don't believe in punishing anything.
Yeah.
As in there are no negative consequences and they only try to reinforce behavior that they deem favorable, right?
Yeah.
And what I've seen in these people as adults, and then I'll talk about being on the other end of the spectrum, um, is that they're well behaved until something really crappy happens and then they don't know how to deal with it and then they become the most self-righteous people I've met.
Yeah.
Like they go from like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds flat and I'm like, yo, you gotta calm down, man. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't have talked to me that way. I didn't do anything wrong. And I'm like, oh, all right, man. All right. I'm just gonna go over there.
Yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum, as somebody whose family believed in like negative reinforcement,
Mm-hmm.
You begin to develop a very tenuous sense of self-worth. And I mean, to the point where, depending on how bad it is, you can develop an extreme lack of value in yourself.
Right.
In that you think of yourself as a little less than human.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the rest of your life experience, that can get worse.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with Seneca in that there needs to be some kind of middle ground. Because, like, no negative consequences doesn't really prepare a kid for how the world works. Like, there are negative consequences for things not happening in the way they ought to, like in the workforce.
Right.
But there also needs to be an emphasis on, like, letting a child know when they're doing something good, not just something you like,
Right.
but something that's productive to their overall development as a human being.
Yeah.
Right? And those are two very different things. And, like, I could talk about that for like an hour, but yeah, I'm not going to. Not today. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, mate?
That's it for now.
All right.
Can finish reading this.
Let childhood be kept away from flattery. Let it hear the truth. Let it feel the fear now and then. Respect always. And let it learn to rise before elders. Let it not obtain anything by getting angry. What's refused to the whiner should be freely given to the child who keeps silent. Let him keep his parents' wealth in view but not in use. Let him be upbraided for any falsehoods. It will be important too that he be given teachers and attendants who are calm, since everything gentle attaches itself to what lies adjacent and grows to resemble those things. The character of young adults thereafter recall of their nurses and sitters. A boy who was brought up in Plato's household and was then returned to his parents saw his father shouting, "I never saw this at Plato's house," he said. And I don't doubt that he sooner imitated his father than Plato. Let his diet be meager, or wait, what?
Yeah, meager.
Yeah, okay. His clothing be modest. His lifestyle equal to that of his peers. He won't be angry at being compared to others if you've put him on par with the many from the outset. There are a couple things I want to mention about this.
Yeah.
So one of the situational statements in this passage is like, put him on a level playing field with everybody else.
Right.
In financial terms, that's not always possible. And I grew up knowing that wasn't possible. That was like my reality, right?
Right.
So, I mean, because I had friends that were wearing like $200 shoes that like nobody in my family would spend the money on, like not in a million years. But that type of stuff's not that important. I mean, to a certain extent it is, but it's more important to instill the idea that someone's basic personhood comes before their outward show.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about a meager diet and modest clothing, the thing I want to say about that is there are people growing up now who've never conceived of food as a necessary fuel source for the human body. Right? Like their attitude toward food is one of complete, like almost complete pleasure seeking.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I mean. There are people growing up that think of food as a source of pleasure, and they've never thought of food as being a thing that they should care about because it provides fuel, and
Yeah.
they should consider the type of fuel they consume. Right?
Right.
I think that would be a more modern way of putting let their diet be meager.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like teach them the value of the food they put in their body.
Yeah.
I'm not like spouting any specific lifestyle like veganism or whatever. I'm just saying be aware that that's the case, because the more we develop those habits in childhood, the less difficulty we're going to have as adults.
Oh yeah, like Oreo cookies were a source of pleasure in my childhood, but now I just really don't eat them. Unless under very special circumstances, but even then I'd only eat like maybe 2 or 3 cookies, whereas before I was eating like 8 or 10.
Dude, we would eat like a tube.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
completely off topic, the stream, but I just tried Oreo's gingerbread flavor. I only had one, and I was like, I was only going to wait until there was one left because I know I would want more. So yeah, but food is a type of fuel, and I think that gets lost today.
Yeah.
Which is weird because there's all there on the other side of it. There are people who are completely obsessed with what they eat and what they put in their bodies.
Yeah. I'm not talking about take it to that level, Leo.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
I didn't.
so yeah, I think the Stoics would have advocated knowing about nutrition and stuff, and how that can basically optimize your body and mind.
Yeah. My body and mind are still suboptimal, but they've taken lots of strides toward optimization.
Yeah, because I think being a noble himself or a former noble, Seneca has seen
Oh yeah.
so many feasts, and there's talk about how they eat so much they just start throwing up, or
Or they'd fall
they're so
asleep.
corpulent. Yeah.
Yeah, and like sometimes they'd literally have like the thing on the floor where you could just take naps.
Yeah, and even European royalty, it was the same thing. Royal feasts and people just completely soft in mind and huge in belly, basically.
I like that.
And it's kind of weird today because, like I mentioned with the Oreo example, we got we got a bunch of food items that are just pure starch and sugar, which if that's all you're really eating and you're barely intaking like actual vitamins and protein and all that.
Yeah.
Because when I was just eating a lot of those snacks, I found that I was really sluggish cognitively and physically. Yeah, and I just felt kind of miserable in it. I just wanted to eat more of it.
I know this isn't a nutrition stream, right? But like, so here's one of the things that happens, right? You eat a buttload of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Your body produces more insulin to bring your blood sugar levels down. And two things happen. That makes you tired.
Yep.
And then your body produces a chemical called ghrelin, which makes you feel hungry again.
Yeah.
Even though, technically speaking, on a caloric level, your body doesn't need anymore.
Right.
So reducing your sugar intake in general is a good idea.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like I'm the healthiest either, but I have cut back a lot of those pleasurable foods like donuts and stuff.
Dude, I haven't had an Oreo in like 3 years.
Yeah.
What do they taste like now?
Well, I just had that holiday flavor, so I can't tell you how the normal ones
Well,
taste.
tell me what it tastes like. I'm just
No, maybe off stream, but
off stream, guys.
yeah.
Okay. It's my turn, right?
I can read.
Yeah, it's your turn. Okay.
All right. So Seneca turns from child rearing to the case of adults whose temperaments are already fully formed. relying on his initial definition of anger as the desire to punish a perceived wrong.
This is important. Desire to punish a perceived wrong. Remember that.
Yeah.
That's his working definition of anger.
He explores various ways we can avoid the sense of having been wrong. This discussion leads him into some remarkable formulations of the universal fallibility of the human race and the imperative this creates to extend mercy toward wrongdoers. But these things are relevant to our children. In our case, the lot into which we were born and our upbringing no longer gives an opening for either error or improvement. We must lay out instead what follows after. So, since we ought to fight against first causes, the cause of anger is the sense of having been wronged. But one ought not to trust this sense. Don't make your move right away, even against what seems overt and plain. Sometimes false things give the appearance of truth. One must take one's time. A day reveals the truth. And don't give accusers ready access to your ears, but take note of this flaw in human nature, and always suspect it. What we hate to hear, we readily believe, and we grow angry before we use our judgment. Think then, what if we are driven to act not by accusations, but by mere suspicions, and grow angry at the guiltless because we read the worst into someone's facial expression or laughter? No, we must plead the case of the absent defendant despite our own interests, and we must hold back anger pending judgment. A punishment that's delayed can still be imposed, but once imposed, it can't be withdrawn.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's a useful strategy because it's something that I try to do every day with various failures. But
what's an example of how you applied it in your own existence?
Well, I can't really think of one right now because I have a bunch. It's just I kind of have to make one up based on my experience.
Go ahead then.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Like thinking someone's not working or something like that tends to make me kind of angry, but I hold that back because there might be other reasons why maybe they're not putting their all in, or if they're absent a lot, maybe there's a reason why. I mean, a lot of personal things come up. So I try not to make those judgments because once I make those judgments, it already heats up the pot in my brain. So there might come a catalyst where like the anger does trigger, and it could be completely unrelated. But because I made those judgments in my mind earlier, it makes it a lot more difficult to keep a hold on it.
Yeah.
So that's the weird thing with anger is it tries to punish a perceived wrong, but it's kind of like a wildfire where you can't really control it once it starts.
So a lot of people, because we're very, whether we know it or not, we're very Aristotelian in our society. So a lot of people tend to think anger is like super productive.
Yeah.
Like it can be productive. And like I see some merit to that, but in general, I no longer do. Because, I mean, Seneca said this, I don't know how many years ago from where we are now. Like close to what, 2,500, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And one of the things I read in a study about anger and how it affects you physiologically, right? We already know that it produces adrenaline, which will quicken your heart rate, tense your muscles, give you mental and physical tunnel vision. Your periphery literally closes. But one thing that people don't know is that it often takes 2 to 3 hours for your body to return to baseline after an incident.
Yeah.
So if you put that into perspective, let's say you get pissed off because someone cut you off on the freeway.
Yeah, that's common.
Right? And you react with all the honking, you accelerate, you yell out the window. And let's say you have a really long commute, it's an hour and a half, and that happens like half an hour into your commute. By the time you get to work, all of those chemicals are still all up in your body.
Yep.
So it's best not to react to what you feel in that state, because you're already at a state of heightened vigilance and arousal, right?
Right.
So for those of you who are struggling with it like I am, that's another thing to keep in the toolbox of knowledge.
Yeah, I think our Stoic exercise, the premeditatio malorum, can help with that also. The premeditation of
Adversity.
yeah, because I'm not always successful with it, but I try to remind myself that I can't really control other people or my environment to the way I would want if I were a Jedi. So
Yeah.
All I can control is how I respond and what I can do in those situations. Like yesterday at work, it was super busy, and I was doing various things just to keep the business going. So yeah, that was interesting, and there were plenty of points where I could have just lost my temper and completely broke down, but thankfully I've had a lot of experiences that have taught me to not that's really detrimental.
Yeah.
Not only to me, but the people around me too.
Exactly.
When people perceive you losing your temper like that, they start talking, and when they start talking, the perception of you becomes changed, like how people perceive you. Like they'll approach you differently. You heard the phrase like walking on eggshells. Like if you're that kind of person who loses their temper that quickly, the people will be much more cautious trying to talk to you because they're afraid you're just going to lose it. And you know that doesn't inspire much confidence.
Yeah, like I remember, like Marcus Aurelius talked about, like someone who's prone to anger is like to him is effeminate.
Yeah.
Because he sees like lashing out as a sign of weakness. But he's not saying that like you shouldn't get angry, right? Like it's a human emotion.
Yeah.
But that lashing out that way never accomplishes anything actually productive.
Right.
Like you got to remember too, this guy had to be a diplomat.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and if you're losing, because he saw Hadrian like fly off the handle quite frequently. In fact, he remarks on it in book 1.
Mm-hmm.
As what not to do, thanking Hadrian for providing him with all these tutors and being a reminder of what he doesn't want to do.
Right.
Right. and that's the thing, like sometimes reminders of what we don't want to become are just as important as reminders of who we want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much more do you want to read today?
I can read one more and then we can stop, or read the meditations.
The meditations. All right.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
From this, it also follows that we should not get annoyed by tiny and very petty things. Your slave is not quick enough, or the water you're about to drink is too warm, or your bed is messy, or your table has been set too sloppily. To get exercised at these things is madness. It is sick people, those of weak constitutions, whom a gentle breeze makes shiver. It is those with eye problems who are disturbed at seeing brightly colored clothes, those spoiled by luxury whose sides ache after doing unaccustomed work. They tell of a certain Mindarides, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that either.
Yeah, excuse my pronunciation. A citizen of Sybaris, who, when he saw someone digging a ditch and swinging his mattock very high, complained that he was getting exhausted and told the man not to do that work in his sight. The same man complained he was doing poorly because he had slept on rose petals that had been folded over double. Where self-indulgence has ruined both the body and mind, nothing seems bearable, not because the task is hard, but because the one doing it is soft. What reason is there for someone's cough or sneeze, or a fly shoot away too negligently, to drive one into a mad rage? Or a dog getting underfoot, or a key dropped by a careless slave? Will he bear with calm mind the reproaches of his city, or the curses hurled at him in the Senate or the court, if his ears are grated by the squeal of a chair being dragged across the floor? Will he put up with hunger or the thirst of a summertime journey if he grows angry at the slave who does a bad job mixing in the melted snow? Nothing nurtures anger so much as luxury that lacks restraint and can't stand setbacks. The mind must be roughly treated so that it does not feel any blows except the heavy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, this example is funny to me because it's for rich people, so I don't really have any experience with that. But the principle still stands.
oh yeah.
I mean,
I have spoken to people who are annoyed by sneezes and coughs and, yeah, flies landing on them, in which case, yeah. Like,
yeah,
I've seen them, like, getting mad, like, rage mad, and I'm just like, it's okay.
just a fly, dude.
Yeah. So, oh man. Or people getting angry because they tried to give you an expired ID card when you work at a cannabis dispensary, which cannabis is still federally illegal, by the way. And it's not like we can accept those just because we've seen you come in like 6 or 7 times and told you that, oh, we noticed your ID is about to expire, so we just want to let you know as a friendly reminder.
Yeah.
Because as a customer, we want you to come back, but as a business, we want to watch our butts too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and people just get really ticked off.
Yes,
Like
they
we're
do.
talking about, they're flying out of the building in a rage. Yeah. So I've seen people just lose it over very dumb things. I mean, I'm no different. I've lost it over very stupid, tiny things.
Same.
But I'd like to think I've done a lot better than when I was younger.
And that's the point. I've said this many, many times, but it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I don't really find myself flying into I haven't done that in like I can honestly say it's probably been about 2 years since I've done anything like that.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying I haven't gotten angry and reacted poorly,
Mm-hmm.
but this like the severe like I don't get angry as frequently, and like the severity of the events don't they're not as prominent.
Right.
So I got a lot of work to do, but progress, man. Like I'm good.
Right.
I found one for Aurelius, by the way.
Cool. Sure, I got one too.
What's yours?
Well, it's on page 37, book 4. It's literally the first page of book 4.
Okay. We'll do yours first because mine's further back in the book. Is it the one that begins with our inward power?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Our inward power, when it obeys nature, reacts to events by accommodating itself to what it faces, to what is possible. It needs no specific material. It pursues its own aims as circumstances allow. It turns obstacles into fuel. As a fire overwhelms what would have quenched a lamp, what's thrown on top of the conflagration is absorbed, consumed by it, and makes it burn still higher.
What you want to say about this one, dude?
Yeah, when your mind is not pulled in multiple directions and you're actually calm and you wait to see what pops up in your mind. At least in my experience, the way I like to think about this is not letting anxiety or anger dictate what you should do, but rather taking that step back and then deciding what you can do.
Yeah, like my own experience of anxiety is like that I misperceive situations as being threatening.
Yeah, like I still have that small amount of anxiety before, let's say I go to work. I always experience a small form of anxiety. If I indulge those types of thoughts, I will be more anxious than if I just left it alone.
Yeah.
More often than not, I just have to let it pass. Just like any other thought or feeling.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so yeah, and the more and more I look at this, the more and more I just see Taoism and Buddhism.
Yeah, it's that Jedi shit.
Yeah.
Our thing on Buddhism, by the way, there's so little material that is universally applicable across the board that it'll probably just be one stream when it does happen. Because I don't really want to talk about the metaphysics. I don't really want to talk about cultural differences.
Well, yeah, that's all extra stuff.
Yeah, it's all stuff I really don't care about.
Yeah.
Like I've learned about it, but it doesn't matter to me personally, and I don't think that it's necessarily applicable to like a large majority of our current one-person audience. I'm just
Right.
all right, so mine is on page 93. It's book 7, number 54. Let me know when you're there.
Yeah, I'm there.
All right, so this is short, sweet, and self-explanatory. Everywhere, at each moment, you have the option to accept this event with humility, to treat this person as he should be treated, to approach this thought with care so that nothing irrational creeps in. So, one of the things that has genuinely helped me with this specifically,
yeah,
is like I try to think of the person I want to be more like the better version of myself. Like, how would a person that is completely in line with, acts completely in line with their own values, their values being mine, how would that person react? It's kind of like a personalized version of the role model, the imaginary role model thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would that person say and do? But more importantly, why would they say or do that? You have to run through this in your head and decide why you should take the better course of action.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to come from you. It can't come from anybody else. Because if it comes from somebody else, in my experience, that shit ultimately ends up falling to the wayside because you can't sustain it because it's an external bond on your behavior rather than something coming from within you.
Yeah.
With Stoicism, it's hard. With Buddhism, it's hard because there are no hard and fast rules unless you're a monk.
Yeah.
And these people had no monks.
Nope.
Like there was no Stoic order that had a set of rules. Like everybody kind of had different ideas of what Epictetus was saying, even when Epictetus was teaching.
Yeah.
For example. So, I mean, that's why Marcus places such a huge emphasis on not constraining your ruling faculty on anger or by anger or grief or something. Not that you don't experience them, but like don't let your mind be overwhelmed by them so much that you cannot act in a way that you normally would.
Yeah.
That you would normally want to act, the way you would normally want to treat people, the way you would normally want to handle this situation.
Yeah.
Just keep striving, yo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it. Man.
Yeah.
This was good.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's time for a little bit of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So we're gonna dip out of here and go have a little bit of fun before this dude has to go to work. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Don't die. Be safe. And
Yeah.
try to maintain your sanity.
Yep.
All right, dudes.
All right.